legislative framework. The Conservative Party coming to power in 1979 signalled a review of civil defence, or as the Home Secretary called it, a review of civil preparedness for home defence, after more than a decade when civil defence planning had been put on a care and maintenance basis. It was around this time that public interest in civil defence saw an upsurge. We saw the publication and general condemnation of the Protect and Survive booklet and later the screening of the film The War Game. However, the peace movements were also more active and we saw the growth in the Nuclear-Free Zones (NFZ) movement amongst local authorities and the revival of CND. 1982 should have seen the running of Exercise Hard Rock, planned to be the biggest civil defence exercise since the 1960s and involving all the county councils and the regional seats of government, although these would not have been fully manned. Unfortunately, it was a public relations disaster and about half the councils, mainly NFZ authorities, refused to take part. As a result, in July that year the Home Secretary announced that he was not satisfied with the state of local authority planning for civil defence and Hard Rock was postponed. Following the abandonment of Hard Rock, the government put in hand plans to stiffen the statutory regulation of the local authorities who would be the people who would actually take local control in an emergency. This resulted in the Civil Defence, General Local Authority Functions, Regulations 1983 issued by the then Home Secretary Leon Britton. The 1983 regulations required local authorities to take part in any training exercise organised by the minister. In other words, there would be no repetition of the Hard Rock fiasco. They were also required to establish emergency centres, although in line with the softly approach these were not to be called war rooms, bunkers or controls but the much more acceptable centres. The regulations specifically required county councils to make, keep under review and revise plans to deal with all of the following. 1. Collecting information on the results of hostile attack and distributing such information. 2. Controlling and coordinating action necessary as a result of hostile attack. 3. Instructing and advising the public on the effects of hostile attack and protective measures to be taken on such effects. 4. Utilizing such buildings, structures, excavations and other features of land in their area as are suitable for use for the purpose of providing civil defense shelters for the public. 5. Providing and maintaining a service in their area for the rescue of persons from damaged buildings and debris in the event of hostile attack. 6. Providing and maintaining a service in their area for the billeting or temporary accommodation therein and, so far as may be necessary, the maintenance of persons who, owing to hostile attack, are made homeless. 7. Providing and maintaining a service in their area for the prevention of disease, or the spread of disease, in circumstances arising out of hostile attack, including the provision of facilities for emergency sanitation and the removal and disposal of refuse of any kind. 8. Providing facilities for the disposal of human remains in the event of hostile attack. 9. Providing and maintaining a service in their area for the distribution, conservation and control of food in the event of hostile attack, including emergency feeding services and equipment. 10. To clear the roads of debris arising out of hostile attack. 11. Providing and maintaining any other services essential to the life of the community in the event of hostile attack. 12. Secure the participation of voluntary groups and their assistance in civil defense duties. The 1983 regulations were intended to be much more forceful, but some councils remained ideologically opposed and did nothing. Others said they had no money or asked for more information. Even so, it must be realized that all they were required to do was to produce plans on a given range of subjects. There was no requirement for any actual preparations beyond the emergency centers and some staff training. One idea of the new civil defense measures was that civil defense was to be opened up to public scrutiny and no longer be secret. Hence the publication in 1980 of the Protect and Survive booklet. But perhaps the most interesting publication was the Emergency Planning Guidelines for Local Authorities, which was issued in 1985. The content of this large book can be seen from its original title of the Consolidated Circular. It brought together, usually in a modified and toned-down form, all the various emergency services circulars issued by the Home Office, covering areas such as the role of the local authority, warning and monitoring, the role of the police, water services, etc. More importantly, it published the plans for regional government after a nuclear strike.